Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sam Drew with the National Dropout Prevention Center, and I'm here with my co-host and colleague Marty Duckenfield, also with the center. And we welcome all of you to this monthly radio webcast brought to you by the National Dropout Prevention Center at Clemson University in partnership with Clemson Radio Productions and the generous support of Penn Foster. I apologize for my voice today. I've been a little under the weather, and if the voice falters, then I'll depend on my colleague to pick up the pace, Marty.
Yeah, well, you can forget about that. We've got about 4 bottles of water there for him. We'll keep them going. Good afternoon, everyone. We're pleased to be back with you once again for this live broadcast focusing on solutions to the dropout crisis. We welcome back those of you who've joined us in the past, and we particularly want to welcome our new listeners to the program. We have a great program planned for today, so, hey, let's get started. First of all, I'd like to tell our listeners, reminding our old ones and telling our new ones, of the materials that are provided by us on the website for today's program. There's the slide presentation, which is in fact a PowerPoint to support today's discussion, so have that open and ready. We also have a variety of other resources on the webpage, including some organization websites for follow-up study and an interview about the issues related to female dropouts. Well, we want you to be an active part of the program today, and so we have 2 ways you can connect with us. First, since this is a radio call-in show, we encourage you to call in your questions for our guest. Our toll-free number is 888-539-8859. And for those of you calling outside the U.S., and wouldn't that be exciting, Sam, if we had that, the number is 864-656-4550. Now, you may begin calling in now or any time during the program. We'll put you on hold for a few minutes, but we'll try and get to as many of your questions as we can during the broadcast. The second way is by email. We're accepting email questions sent to our email address, ndpc, as in National Dropout Prevention Center, ndpc@clemson.edu. Put the word solutions in the subject line. We'll try to get to as many of those questions as we can.
Thanks, Marty. We do look forward to your calls, and your calls are an important part of this program. We want you to be able to interact with our guest today and our guest in all these programs. As I've said, each broadcast, this national dropout crisis did not happen overnight, and although the bad news is there's no quick fix, there's no magic bullet to end it. The good news that we talk about around the country is that we know there are many solutions to this problem, and it's solutions that we're focusing on today and in this program. And the particular solution today relates to the fact that many of our students, and a good third of female dropouts, relates to teen parenthood. And I want to stress that because while we will be focusing quite a bit on female dropouts, it is teen parenting that is really the risk factor. Both males and females are at risk when teen parenting comes into question. And joining us today from Pasco, Washington, is Christy Challender, the principal of an alternative school, New Horizons School, which Christy tells us is a comprehensive high school. And they've hosted for some time now a successful teen parenting program. Marty and I first met Christy at our National Dropout Prevention Conference in Myrtle Beach last February, and then we had the privilege of going out to Pasco a few months ago to conduct some training there. And so from 3,000 miles away, we welcome Christy to the program to tell us about what's working for them in their teen parenting program. Christy, welcome to the program today.
Thank you, Marty, and thank you, Sam. I'm quite excited to be here and share about our program. It's been very successful, and we're always fine-tuning and working on better ways to serve our students. And I have to tell you, in our program, we work equally with the teen fathers as we do the teen mothers. It's really a team effort for both parents.
Good, Christy. And let me tell our listeners again that we are going to begin to field your calls, any questions that you have, and that number again to call toll-free is 888-539-8859. And for those of you outside of the U.S., I'm sorry to say this is not toll-free, but we would love to hear from you. The number is 865-656-4550.
And Sam, there's a typo there. That's my fault. 864-656-4550.
Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you very much.
I took the blame.
So, Christy, let's get started and just tell us really about how all this got started. I think almost 10 years ago now.
It was 10 years ago, and actually I came to the program 3 years ago as the new principal here at New Horizons High School, and so I inherited this really fabulous program, and we're continuing to develop it and add to it and create more supports and more capacity for our students and for our teen parents, their children, really working to create a stronger future for everyone involved. And as I go through this, if we start at the first slide, the first quote that we have when we talk about our teen parent program is that difficulties exist to be surmounted. And that's one of the things. Our teen parent program was brought into existence in the fall of 1999, and it was developed parents, mothers and fathers equally, would have the opportunity.
Well, we have a little audio problem from 3,000 miles away. You know, one of the things, just to talk about the topic, is this issue, because when I first met Christy, I was quite taken with a lot of the discussion about female dropouts and this whole cycle that we'll probably talk about later in the hour, and how having a teen become pregnant and that child, that cycle gets repeated because we know that there's a high risk factor, isn't there, Sam, with a single parent, and that's one of the issues. And so looking at this as a particularly globally, we see this as a bigger problem than just that one child. It's generational.
It is generational, and it starts a whole cycle of disengagement that we've talked about quite a bit. And it's not just the child, it is the parent also that is at risk. And as I said before, it is not just the female. I think too often people feel that in situations of teen pregnancy, it's the female most at risk, and we did cite that fully a third of our female dropouts relates to teen pregnancy, or teen parenting, but it really is the teen parent, so that's both male and female. And one of the things that impressed us about this program that you'll hear from Christy is that they are working not only with the teen mothers, but that they have ways of bringing the teen fathers in, and we hope to hear from her about the successes as well as the difficulties of working with both sets of parents and trying to break this cycle.
And then thirdly, the other person in the equation is the child, and this was what touched me so much, was the fact that this child is a potential dropout as well. And that component is also covered in this particular program. So between the mom, the dad, and the child, we've got a pretty comprehensive program. And we're still watching 3 technicians going crazy in there. So feel free to call us, perhaps, and maybe we can discuss some of this, Sam.
Well, that would be a great idea, actually. Any of you out there that have questions about the program, even if those questions may be answered later in the presentation, call in with your questions now, and we'll do our best to try and field those questions or record those so that we can pose those to Christy when we have her back online. One of the things that interested me in a question that I will pose for Christy is that of funding. As with all of these solutions, many of them sound wonderful to you, and they may be programs that you would like to implement, but one of the big barriers to implementing a program would be funding. And one of the things that Christy has said to us is that this is a comprehensive high school. This program operates within a comprehensive high school, and that they use CTE, Career Technical Education funds, to fund this program. So I want to hear from her, and I'm sure you'll be interested to hear more from her about how they utilize CTE funds for this program, and it may give you some clues as to how you might replicate a program like this in your own school.
Can we take our caller? Hi, Laura?
Yes.
Hi. Welcome
you?
to Solutions. We're glad to have you. And what have you got a comment to make? It says you've got something to say. We'd love to hear. Tell us
yes.
where.
Well,
tell the
I was
audience.
listening to you.
Tell the audience where you're from.
My name's Lara Kaufman, and I'm senior counsel with the National Women's Law Center in Washington, D.C. And I think this is great. I'm really excited to listen to the program. I just wanted to say that while it's important to look at the issues of teen parents, both male and female, I just wanted to point out to the audience that I think the burdens of child care usually disproportionately fall on the mothers, and I think what we've seen from the work we've been doing in this area is that the economic consequences of dropping out tend to be far worse for girls than for boys. So I think it's great that the program, that Christy's program, and that everybody in general is looking at both the issues of teen fathers and teen mothers, but I do think there are some unique concerns with respect to teen mothers that we should pay attention to.
Well, Lara, while we've got you on the line here, I want to take advantage of your being with us. One of the resources we included on the website was that publication. You want to talk about that you all were responsible for while we were working on it? While we're trying to get Christy back. We've got a wonderful caller in right now, and so tell us about that report and what it's called, and maybe people will really have a good look at it now.
Sure. Well, it's almost a year old now, but we released a report about a year ago called When Girls Don't Graduate, We All Fail, a call to improve high school graduation rates for girls. And really, we took a look at the literature out there on the dropout crisis, and everything was focused almost exclusively on boys. And we know that boys are doing worse than girls are, generally speaking, in school. However, girls are still dropping out at alarmingly high rates, and especially girls of color. The rates for girls of color are even worse than for white girls. And I know that when you look at the breakdown of subgroups, girls of color are dropping out at higher rates than white males and Asian American males. So it is important to look at girls as well, and we started to look at some of the risk factors that seem to affect girls differently from boys. There's very little research out there. That's one of the things that we found, is that more research needs to be done. We need better data collection. We make a series of recommendations in the report about ways to improve the graduation rates for girls, and it's something we're continually working on. And as I said, one of the things we point out in the report is that although boys are dropping out at higher rates right now, once they get into the marketplace, girls fare much worse. They tend to have higher rates of unemployment, much lower wages, and they are more likely to need to rely on public support programs in order to support themselves and their families. So, we can't ignore the issues that girls face out there, and we're just trying to shed light on that and make sure that policymakers and educators and advocates are considering the needs of boys and girls, and really take a closer look at why girls and boys are dropping out at such high rates, and what can be done to change that.
I think one of the things I found so interesting about the report was all the dots that it connects to, whether the risk factors are, for example, poverty. And we talked about, I earlier mentioned about the little children of single parents would be more likely to drop out. But that whole issue of poverty and the connection of what you mentioned about the economics of the pay that women who don't graduate from high school compare to the men who don't graduate and their income levels, and that does create a whole subsection of our society that is hurting. And
yes.
And then that's the connection to the higher dropout rate. So I think
the disparities are huge, and actually when you look at the data, it's not until a girl has some college education that she earns as much as male dropout would earn. That's what the data shows. So,
wow.
And even still, she's below the basic needs standard for a family of three. But she has to get some college in order to reach that level that a male high school dropout on average will earn. And, this is not only tough for her and her family, but, it has impacts on society as well, as she will need to rely on public support programs, and she will have, not be earning as much money, won't pay as much in taxes, won't, et cetera.
Yeah.
And as you said, the children of dropouts are more likely to drop out themselves, so the cycle continues.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times people think, and we talk to so many groups of people, that, once a student drops out, they just sort of disappear somewhere. Mm-hmm. Well, no, and I think you're putting a real spotlight on some of the issues. I certainly learned a lot from that report and highly recommend it.
Yeah,
Great.
and Laura, I know you only intended to make a comment today, but
okay.
but you've actually become a part of the solution to this crisis we're having right now, and this has been
happy to help.
Tremendously interesting conversation with you, and important points that you make. And in my saying that that teen parenting really is the risk factor shown by research, I certainly did not mean to underplay the particular impact felt by girls. And your report pointed that out, and the work that you and your group have done is tremendously important work, and we cannot ignore the impact on girls, not only the dropping out itself, but the effect and long-range consequences, really, of girls dropping out.
Hey, Laura,
so we thank you so much.
We do thank you. And hang on for a minute, because a friend of yours we think is back. Christy, are you there?
I'm here.
Well, we've canceled your presentation today. We now have Laura from the National Women's Law Center, and she's doing a great job. So nice talking to you, Christy. Maybe another time. No, we got you back. We want you, and I just wanted Laura to have any opportunity to just have a comment with you before we move on to your presentation.
Oh, no, I'm anxious to hear from Christy, and I'm sure everyone else is too. So thank you, and it's good to have you back, Christy.
Well, thank you, Laura. It's good to hear your voice again.
And it's good to hear your voice again.
Yes.
Really.
And Christy, as they say, why don't you begin at the beginning?
It was like I was thinking while they were struggling to get it all figured out. Where did I stop?
I think shortly after the first sentence.
We were talking about difficulties exist to be surmounted.
And there they began.
That was fatal. But anyway, we have surmounted them. Let's move on.
All right. Well, let's go to our program goals. That's a nice place to pull it all together and lay out a tray of what it is we do here. First, I guess I need to let everyone know we want to ensure that every teen parent completes high school education, and that when they leave here, they have a clear vision of a post-secondary plan. And second, we want to reduce subsequent pregnancies. That's really important. And we know that these things are important because there's consequences of teen pregnancies. They severely implicate the severe implications for the beginning of a teen mother is incredible. We know that teen mothers are less likely to complete high school. Only 1/3 normally receive a high school diploma. And then only 1.5% have a college degree by 30, which is just incredibly frightening for those families. And we also know that 80% of our unmarried teen mothers end up on welfare. So we know high school completion is really, really important. So those are our three goals: high school completion, reduce subsequent pregnancies, and prepare our young parents for self-sufficiency. So those are really what we focus on. Now, to do that, to meet these goals, if we go to the next slide, we talk about program benefits. Well, the reason that we have program benefits is because the objective of our program is to remove or minimize as many obstacles that are faced by teen parents as possible. Because, you and I, when we get up in the morning to get our kids ready to go to child care and then we get ourselves to work, imagine if you're only 15 or 16 and you're getting a baby or an infant toddler up and you have to get somewhere with them. It's an incredible feat. So one of the things that we do is we start removing those obstacles. We know that it's common for teen parents to feel a lack of belonging to a traditional school because, most kids at these ages are looking to have their friends, what's the latest fashion, where our teen parents are trying to make sure they're fed themselves, their children, they have diapers, formula. So we first work to form a sense of community with our students because we know that relationships are everything. So we want to create a sense of community that's inclusive for not only them, their partner, their child, their family, so that this becomes a home base, a touchstone that's safe. So that's one of the things we do. We also work to provide transportation for our students. And this is for the teen fathers and mothers. So we have what we call the baby bus that goes and picks them up at their home in the morning, brings them to school, and then takes them home in the evening. And this bus is awesome. It's complete with baby seats that are, we make a check every so often as to the weight of the children, and so that everything is up to codes. And that's something that our district supports to take care of. And then the other part of that is we provide affordable and quality child care, because that's something that gets in the way of the students. They want to go to school, but who's going to take care of their child, and how's the child going to be safe? So we partner with the Boys and Girls Club, and they provide care for children that are birthed to 31 months. So then that takes that barrier of being at school out. And then we support the student academically. We know that a lot of times they come to us behind academically, but that they also need that extra person. So we have a full-time paraeducator that touches bases with our teen parents. And she serves a dual purpose, because we also take students that are pregnant and we offer a curriculum program that provides them with prenatal care, prenatal information, a bridge to the WIC program, the Women and Children program. And so we have that person that also works with our students. And the other part that she provides in support is she goes to their homes when they're on maternity leave and provides tutoring so they don't get behind academically. So those are kind of the objectives of our program. We want to make a sense of community. We provide transportation. We want to make sure that we have affordable and quality child care, and we want to support the student academically. On top of all of this, we flex schedules with Pasco High, our comprehensive high school, so that students that are in AP classes or have a special track in high school they're following, they can continue to have that opportunity. We never want a child to think that because they're pregnant and they're faced with this challenge that they have to give up everything they've been working for. Our child care with the Boys and Girls Club works very diligently to target early learning. So they work with our teen parents and the babies to teach our teen parents how to teach reading skills early. And that happens in the child care, and it also happens in the classroom. So there's the benefits. It's a lot to chew.
It is a lot. It is a lot. Have you got some stories to share with us about some of this? I know you've told me some on the phone, and I mean, I can just in my mind's eye see that bus with little babies strapped in. I mean, I just love the vision of that, and that's a great story there. But do you have some others to share?
Yes, and where to begin is usually is the main thing. I think, one of the things that we know is that our families of color are really impacted by teen pregnancies. It's a cultural thing, it's poverty, it's all these things wrapped up into one. And right now we have a young family that are coming to our school, and they have twins. And here they come every day off the baby bus, each of them packing a carrier, and both of them getting ready to graduate in January and make it. And you can't imagine how fulfilling it is for these students who've been out of school a year or two that come back to us and actually get it done and graduate. One of our students said, and let me find, I have a quote from her where she was telling everyone about, what does this mean to me as a parent? And sometimes the kids can say it better than we can say it. And she said, I can't thank you enough for having this wonderful program for young moms like me. This gives us another chance to get our feet on the ground and really become great in somebody's life. I appreciate everything you do for me and the staff has done for me. So even the students realize how important it is.
That's wonderful.
If you go to the next slide where we talk about prenatal and neonatal care, I don't know how many people are familiar with the GRADS curriculum, and it's called Graduation, Reality, and Dual Role Skills. And this is a curriculum that's approved by the state of Washington that specifically targets parenting, child development, self-formation, safe and healthy environment, employability, economic independence, process skills, and pregnancy and wellness. So as you can see, our curriculum is very specific to meeting our program goals. And then part of all of what we do, so we have, I'm trying to paint this picture so you can see our campus in your mind's eye. We have a classroom that is our teen parent classroom. So our teens report there for whichever period of the day they have that class. And they have a teacher that's the same teacher every day throughout the year. And they go there specifically to have that relationship. But the really incredible part is that relationship carries over to the child care. It's not like the child care operates independently of our school. They're part of our school community. So every student in the teen parent program that accesses the teen parent bus also works an hour a day in the child care to get a work experience component. So every day they're getting modeling or mentoring, you might say, from a educated, skilled, licensed adult that's showing them how to care for children, not just their child, but other children. The students also have an opportunity to earn college credits while they're completing the STARS basic course curriculum through our next-door neighbor, which is CBC College, Columbia Basin College. So we work on providing a really complete education, not just academically in high school classes, but academically in how to be a parent. That's something that we're really proud of, that we make sure we're making that connection, because students can go on and say, I'm starting as a freshman at college. Yes, I have a child, but I also have college credit, which ties into them having a post-secondary experience ready to go. Every year we graduate approximately 45 to 50 students from our school. Consistently in the last 3 years, we're graduating 17 teen parents. So those are 17 more families that are leaving here with a better chance at life in general. And on the next slide, I talked about the work experience component, where students work in the child care for a period a day, and they earn their college credit. We have an articulation agreement with CBC College. And I think that's important. When you're talking about students and how do we get around dropouts and how do we make our students safe, that not only do we have to make sure that they get to graduation, but we have to be talking to them about what's after graduation. What's that long-range plan? It can't just be I'm getting my diploma, that I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to get my diploma. I'm going to go on to post-secondary. I'm going to go to a technical skills college. I'm going to go into an apprenticeship, something, because we can all do it. It's important. Some of the highlights of our program, which, as I started putting these statistics together, I was amazed at what we've accomplished here. In June of 2008, we have graduated 95 teen parents. We have 175 healthy babies that have been born. We formed an incredible partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, and currently our enrollment, our child care here is full. We had a waiting list last week. We've cleared a couple kids in, but consistently we're able to give students that are asking for the support that opportunity. So it's pretty exciting. The next slide, we talk about what's next. When you start talking about how do you want to make things bigger and better, we get pretty excited. Right now we have a premier program, we think, and part of the facilities task force, because we need a new site, we're talking about adding a birth to 5 program. So not only would we have our babies from birth to 31 months, but we would have an on-site preschool program where we could also have students get early childhood education credits through the local college. So that's another a thing on the back burner that we're getting ready to work on. So everyone here is excited and committed to making that happen. But none of this could really happen without the partnerships we have in the community. Currently, the Pasco Educational Foundation is one sponsoring partner of our child care. They had a backyard baby shower where they invited a bunch of people from the community to come and have a baby shower, make donations to our child care specifically, and bring things that might be necessary for anyone in our child care or for the teen parents. And the big goal of that was we wanted to raise money to purchase wooden rocking chairs. And for anyone that's done some of the ACES curriculum where you talk about childhood trauma and how you help children and adults overcome those experiences, rocking is one of those, because when you rock a child, our grandmas really did know what was best for us. When you rock a child, you help reconnect the brain synapse between the left and right hemisphere. And so it's an excellent thing to do for children. And we know that many of our students don't have rocking chairs. They live in poverty. They move around a lot. It's just not something that comes up. So we have a program where they can check out a rocking chair during the school year and take it home and have one at home. And we also have several of them in the child care, so they can do that there. And that's a nice segue for teaching someone to rock their child and read a story. So we always look for dual purposes of activities.
One of the things that strikes me at listening to everything you've discussed so far is the number of different partners, agencies, other high institutions of higher education, whatever. Tell us a little bit about partnerships. That's one of the things that, when we came out there, we were talking about partnerships in the training that we did out there. But this is a multifaceted program in many ways, and if you could describe the different partners and the different roles they play to help send that message to our listeners out there that nobody can be expected to do this alone, and these are people who are interested in how you got them engaged and involved. I think that whole issue is one that would be really worth exploring today, Christy.
Okay. Partnerships, it's funny, that's what you came out here for, was our PERC training.
Yes, exactly. That's why it's on my mind. Yes, indeed.
Right on your mind. And, that's going through that PERC process and learning more about how do you nurture relationships in the community. And the biggest aha, I think, for all of us is that you have to go out and let people know you have a need. And you wouldn't think that would be necessary, but people always want to help, or they want to participate in good programs that are doing positive things and making a difference in our community. Right now, the agencies that we work with are a lot of the social agencies, DSHS. WIC comes here on site so that our young parents don't have to leave to have a WIC appointment for the Women and Children program. They come here once a month. Everyone knows they're here on the first Tuesday of the month, and the babies and the parents get to go and do that check-in. One of the things we really work to do is make sure our students receive services here on campus, and we're not always sending them out. And so that's an important partnership.
Yeah, and I noticed that was one way to eliminate some of the barriers.
That is a huge barrier, because imagine trying to get yourself and your child to an appointment across town. You've got a diaper bag, a backpack, an infant, and you're in and on and off public transportation. So we really work to remove that. So we have that partnership with WIC. The Boys and Girls Club partners with us. Planned Parenthood is a welcome member partner here. Hope Home, Catholic Family Services, Grace Clinic, and La Clinica. And the way that we go about having these partners is partly through our advisory board. We have an advisory board here in our greater Tri-Cities area that is made up of community members from all different walks of life, nurses, teachers, people that work in just general business that have an interest in supporting a program that supports our teen parents. And they come together once a month or once a quarter to see what we're doing in our program and what our needs might be, and them also bringing their rich experiences from the community and offering us suggestions of what would be good for our program. So that's one way, is to ask people to join advisory boards. Another way that we bring on partners is I'm a member of Rotary. So I give presentations to Rotary, or I take students out to give presentations around the community, because the students really are the best seller of what we do here. It's on a daily basis, what we do here is not about the adults in the building. It's always about the students and their needs. And so when you take the students out to talk about their experiences and to share with others what a difference this has made in their life and how it's removing the barriers for a successful life in the future, people are always willing to say, what is it I can do for you? Can I come in and read? Can I donate books? Right now we have some retired women that are knitting stocking caps for the babies. People want to feel like they're contributing, and this is a way that they can. But you've got to put it out there and let people know that you need them.
And, we're going to talk in a few minutes, I think. Oh, did you have something you wanted to add to this, Sam? Okay. In a few minutes about something that you are particularly doing, but we have a caller, and so we like to get our callers when we have them. And so we have Gwen from Columbia, South Carolina. And Gwen, you are on the air with Christy Challender. Have you got a question or a comment for us?
I actually have a question. What I want to know is you opened the question, Marty, in regards to partners, and I already started dialing by then. And I wanted to, and so, but one question specifically, since you're talking about, the young ladies and particularly young women of color, what partnerships do you have, faith-based partnerships do you have, and if any, and what training do you give to your partners in reference to your program? I want to specifically understand more about your faith-based organization affiliation.
That's an interesting question. That's an area we're working around on campus right now to cultivate partnerships with faith-based organizations. And we came to that when we took the PERC training with Marty this spring and Sam. It's important to us that we have those those partners on board. To do that, it's sort of the same thing. We go out and say to them, here, come and see what we're doing on our campus. Do you see how you might be able to share in this partnership? We have, I'm trying to think of the name of the church. I know the lady's name, Carol, who comes and organizes basketball tournaments right now as part of a way for her to be on campus and let people know more about it. We have the Faith-Based Catholic Family Services. They offer our students a link to what they offer. They'll come on and visit and share about their program. And then we're starting to use the PERC process where we're training people about how you operate in a partnership.
All right. Well, that was my particular question. As we've talked about, I've been reading a little bit of Ruby Payne's What Every Member Should Know About Poverty, what every church member should know.
Yes.
And so I'm just looking at how now are more churches and schools sort of building partnerships. And, of course, we have, because we need every partner we can. So anyway, that was my question. Absolutely.
Yes.
That was my question, and just wanted to hear more about that. I thank you.
Well, and the best way that I've found to get partners is to invite them in to tour our program or to meet the program director, because then you have to have a feel for what you're doing before someone else can see how they fit into that.
Right. Okay.
So we try to share as much as we can.
Well, thanks for calling, Gwen. We appreciate your call, and I think Sam was chomping at the bit for a question.
I wanted to say, Christy, you mentioned PERC and the PERC training a couple of times, and so just just to let our listeners know that PERC is planning effectively for resource collaboration, and it was the training that I mentioned earlier. Marty and I went out to work with a group in Pasco with PERC, and essentially it is a process of bringing together community agencies and school people to look at community issues and do community problem solving through partnership. So it's the word collaboration is a deliberate word used there versus, for instance, coordination, because it's more than just coordinating agencies. It's actually coming up with new and different solutions through the power of collaboration or the power of synergy. So I thought I would just clear that up so that they would know what you're talking about when you say PERC.
If I would have remembered the words to the acronym, I would have shared it earlier, so I'm glad you did that.
Let me go back just for a second, because one of the things that interested me as you went through your presentation had to do with this GRADS curriculum, Graduation Reality and Dual Role Skills, and you mentioned that was a curriculum approved by the state of Washington. Is that a curriculum that is unique to Washington, or do you know of other states that...
You know what? I'm probably not the right person to answer that question, and I can find that answer out for you. I just know that's what we have here.
Well, it would probably be of interest to our listeners. I know it was to me, because it seems such a comprehensive and integrated curriculum, and I wondered about if that was statewide, if that was something that was initiated actually by your program or programs like that, or there was some other motivation behind that. But if you could get us that information, we'll be glad to pass that on to our listeners. I can
speak to my very worthy director of my teen parent program, and I bet you she knows.
Good. once a teen parent graduates from high school through your program, are you able to continue to work with them and their children, or are there plans in the making to do this, or is that pretty much considered your final effort with them?
You know, it's interesting that you asked that question. One of the things we've been working on as a campus is how do we know where our children go after they're here, aside from the fact that a lot of them come back to visit us and let us know how they're doing. And we're working on building a database so we can track them more effectively. So we don't have any specific way of helping them or any process right now, but that's certainly something in our district as a whole that we're looking at. How do we know where our students are going, and how do we assist them to do that? But right now we don't have a formal way.
Well, it strikes me that your program, as it's constructed, it may be more comprehensive, really, but it certainly has all or most of the components of a full family literacy program, and that generally is defined as parent education, which you certainly do, early childhood education, that is help for the young children, and parent-child relations, that is the whole parenting process.
Right.
And I wondered if you'd done any work or have plans also for extending this kind of model really to young parents even that have graduated. I know your program focuses more on teen parents who have not graduated and to move them onto a path toward graduation. But family literacy programs I've done work with in the past have been very successful, really, just in working with young parents and their children, to give all these children a head start. And yours certainly seems a model that could be used community-wide in that respect.
Yes, I think it's a great idea. And when Michelle and I were talking about the questions, we were thinking, wow, that's really something we need to expand to the teen parents, and how do we do that? And that's, as we grow and we expand our program, that's something I think we'll seriously look at.
Well, and you may use the PERT process to do that, Christy.
I think we may. We're very well trained.
I think you've answered the other question that I had, and that was really the kind of tracking that you've been able to do, and to move on beyond the program and see how well both the parents as well as their children are doing in school. It sounds to me that you have plans for doing that, and we would be very interested in the results of that.
Yeah, well, when we have them, I will be sharing them with you, because we're kind of on fire around here right now, and we keep developing new ways to track things, and people keep coming to us and say, hey, I want to partner and I want to do this. We have Readiness to Benefit, working with early literacy with the teen parents, teaching them how to play with their children and teach their own children literacy skills that Boys and Girls Club brought on last year. So it's really certainly every year something new we're doing or expanding or changing to meet the needs of our students.
Yeah, and the partnerships just keep stretching you beyond. It's just wonderful to hear about this. We have a caller, though, Christy. We'd like to take Bonnie, who's calling from Cincinnati, Ohio. And Bonnie, you're on the air with Christy Challender, and welcome to Solutions.
Thank you. Hi, Christy.
Hi.
I'm just calling. You've talked a lot about the partnerships that you have in the community, but I would like to know more specifically, how is your school funded?
That's a great question, because, as a school administrator, funding is everything.
Exactly.
The way that our districts funded this, we run our teen parent program through CTE, which is Career and Technical Education, and so it doesn't come out of our basic education money. Do you understand about vocational money?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, so that's how we do it. The teen parent program is a CTE class with the ECE, which is Early Childhood Education Credit, and that's what drives the funding for this.
Okay.
And then
those are state funds?
Those are state vocational funds.
Okay. Gotcha.
But I have to tell you, without our district support, I don't know how we do this. They really go above and beyond, just alone with transportation, which isn't covered by CTE funding. For them to dedicate a bus to our program and put the car seats in it and pay for the car seats and the booster seats, it's incredible the level of commitment we have, all the way from our school board down the line.
Well, and that's why I asked, this sounds like such a a great program, but how do we get it everywhere?
Right.
How does it, come to Ohio, to Cincinnati, et cetera?
It takes some creativity, and it takes a level of commitment. You need someone that is, irrationally committed to this becoming a part of your school.
Okay.
And meeting that need. And really, here in Franklin County, because we had the highest pregnancy rates in the state, there was just a moral imperative that we do something.
Okay.
And I have to tell you, this evolved. In 1999, we had 14 parent students graduate, and last year we had 17.
Wow.
So this is just a work in progress. It's getting the word out, and it's keeping the right people with the kids and with the right focus to make sure it happens. For instance, this year, our school district committed to providing the baby bus, as we call our transportation bus for our babies, for the summer school program. So some of our teen parents got to go to summer school so that they could retrieve some credits and graduate on time.
Wow.
So we have a really high level of commitment to our students and seeing that they graduate on time with their diploma.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for answering my question.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. We appreciate your interest in your call, and certainly a very important question. This leads me to think about, obviously in Pasco, they understand the importance of helping these young people graduate and do well. They see what would happen if they did not. They understand that. And one of the things that you have been telling me about, and we were going to take some time, and may as well do this right now, is share what your students are producing that will be available through our website and on your website soon about your school. So tell us about this. This is a great project. My service learning friends out there, listen to this one. This is terrific. Okay, go for it, Christy.
Right now, our teen parent program is putting together a video, and it's a day in the life of a teen parent. And they're very interested in making it so people can see what it's like to be a teen parent from the moment you get up in the morning and you have to get a baby up, get yourself dressed, and just exactly what it takes to do that. When they get on the bus, get off the bus, get to school, take the babies to the child care, get them checked in. The toddlers, the girls take over to our cafeteria and have breakfast with them, and then they begin their day as a student. And so they're working very hard to put this together. And actually, it'll be on the website here at National Dropout Prevention Network when we get it done. But also in Atlanta, I'm bringing a team, including the manager of the child care, to present in Atlanta at the National Dropout Prevention Network conference. Let's see, we're going to be there November 16th.
That's right. It's coming up soon.
Really fast.
Yeah, we're doing a little promo for Christy on this. She's doing a workshop. Do you know when it is? It's sometime during the conference, but we hope a lot of you are coming to Atlanta next month to our national conference, and Christy and team will be there. And is this going to be the premiere of the video?
Yes.
Ooh.
We will roll the video out for everyone. We wanted to bring students.
Yeah.
And then it became so complicated to bring them that far from home because we're all the way out here in Washington State. And do we bring their babies with them? Do we not? And it became so huge, and we said, you know what, there's a better way to do this. We can do a video. It's something we can share, and we can fill in the holes of what that's like.
Yeah, and this is going to be great. This goes back to your opening quote, difficulties exist to be surmounted. You can't bring all the students there, and we are facing hard economic times anyway. But I am so struck by the problem solving and the creative use of partnerships or ideas to address the various barriers. And I know they've been sprinkled throughout this conversation, but for the benefit of our listeners and me who need structure, could you list some of those barriers again and how you solve them in creative ways? Because what's a barrier to keep, and you've talked a lot about getting up in the morning, that's a barrier for me, and I don't have a little one in the house, so I understand that barrier. Yeah. So tell us a little bit again about the barriers and specifically what you've done to surmount them.
I think, and when I look through my notes, the first thing on our list is always transportation. That's always the first thing that gets in a child's way of getting them and their child here. And so that's a really important thing that we do. We provide transportation. The other part is making sure we build a sense of community, because you have to have buy-in that what we're selling is a better deal than anywhere else. Because no matter what, they're still teenagers. and they have to feel like they belong, and they have to feel like this is the right thing for them at the right time, and that they can do it. And if you can't say to them that they can do it, then they're never going to believe they can do it. And so that's really important, that really sense of I belong here and I'm not isolated and I'm not disconnected from the school setting. So that's really important. The other part is participating in the STARS curriculum, which is how they get college credit simultaneously while they're getting high school credit. And that's really important, too, because some of these students, they've never seen themselves as a student, and they really have never believed that they were going to graduate from high school. But the idea that not only could they graduate from high school, but graduate with college credit, there's already a barrier and a relationship that's starting being formed in their minds of them being a college student. So that's really, really important. And I think the other thing that we build into them and a barrier we remove is no matter how much support you've had, no matter how many barriers have been removed, the biggest barrier for all of us is you have to feel pride about where you are as a person. And the pride of a student who, by all statistics, should barely be making it, and in spite of all those odds has earned college credit while in high school, it's priceless. And changing how the student sees themselves, not as a failure because they are a teen parent, but as a success because they're a teen parent and they're making it, really, really makes a difference. We work on, and our goal is to serve our students to secure not only their future, but also their child's future, because we all know they're going to be in our society, and we want them to be benefiting. Something else that we do to remove barriers, a lot of our children come from poverty and from homes that are dysfunctional, that have drugs, there's been violence, there's been abuse. So another thing that we do, parents, teachers, our partners, our students, we all work together. We are one of the first people to step up and say, if you need a team meeting here where we sit down with CPS, where we sit down with any other agency around to help this family, make the changes that they need to, we will always sit down and partner with that. I always tell the kids, there's never a bad day for a crisis, because a crisis means a change is going to happen. So we work to help build resiliency in our students so that they can see, you've already surmounted this one crisis. And you know what? It's been an opportunity for change. And then we work on building that resiliency so that they'll be able to have more resilient children and maybe get themselves out of generational poverty, generational drug abuse, and move on to have a more successful life.
It's funny, when I think of barriers, I was thinking of logistical kinds of things. I'm very struck by that image of the early morning trip and that bus. I've told you about that.
Yeah.
But there's so many mindsets that are barriers in belief in themselves or believing that they belong. And this whole thing about college credit and that I could be a college student. This is a promo for our next program, which is on the middle college high school. But the thing that struck me so much in our visit there was the whole change in mindset of these students who are going to high school on a college campus and taking college courses and never having seen themselves that way. And you're doing that as well, not on a college campus, but they're getting college credit, I guess. Was it through the local community college?
Yes, our next door neighbor, actually.
Oh, how perfect! Yeah,
it's incredible. The other part of that that's important is that we want to make sure that they are always looking forward, not back, not at what's happened. And so we bring a lot of speakers into the teen parent class to talk about their experiences. And I've had an opportunity to speak to the kids, and I said to them, I went to college, and I was a single parent, and I had 2 children. And they are always in awe because I'm a high school principal and I have children and I have degrees, they don't think that I could possibly have ever had any barriers. And so sharing our stories amongst our staff and our students and our district level staff even helps them to see a better future.
And I'm also interested in the transformations that you must have seen from when these students came to your school. And then you talk about these graduates. Could you just talk about that for a minute?
It's incredible. If you want to have an emotional out-of-body experience, we do this really great thing with all of our seniors. We have a senior dinner, and it's separate from graduation, and every senior asks a person here on campus to speak for them about them and their journey. Because really, we're all about the stories of our culture, the stories of where we've been and where we're going and who we are. And so we have an evening that we staff, cater, and we serve the families and the students, and some of them bring their children with them. And when they get up there and they stand up in front of this audience and their families or their parents, and they say to them, I made it, and you didn't believe I would be able to do this. You told me I wouldn't be able to, and I did it. And this diploma, it's not for you, it's for me, but I made it. And they do. They stand up there and they cry, and people say wonderful things about them and the changes they've seen in them, and they do it. We have a young lady right now who is at CBC. She's in the MESA program and doing fabulous, but she left here with a 4-year-old when she graduated at 19 and went right over there and is doing a great job. She's one of their star freshmen.
I know you got to feel good about it.
Oh, it's incredible.
What a wonderful place.
Christy, you mentioned under program highlights that your program currently is full. Mm-hmm. How many students would you estimate are not being served now? And is funding the main barrier for that, or space, or all of the above? Or
the biggest barrier on our campus is space. If I had another child care, I'd have it full. I'd find space for those teen parents. My suspicion in the Tri-City area, we know we have 2,000 students, not just teen parents, but students in general who are not in school that should be. And I would guess, statistically speaking, probably 30% of them are teen parents.
Okay.
Scary.
Yeah.
It is scary.
It's scary. And I think teen parents are underreported because I think when we report teen parents, we only report the females and we don't report the males. Mm-hmm. And so that's a frightening thing. Here on our campus, it's an almost non-negotiable for a male that's a teen parent and has his partner here not to take our teen parent class. They really have to work hard with me to convince me they don't need it. Mm-hmm. And usually it's just, no, you have to do this. Because I believe that their involvement is, the male's involvement in this is it's vitally important. I have a young man who he and his girlfriend had a baby in January, and prior to that, he didn't want to take the prenatal class with her. And I said, you know what, this isn't negotiable. You have plenty of space on your schedule. You're taking this. So he takes it, and he complained and moaned at first. And then one day he found me, and he had a baby book he had made for his son that he had done all himself, not that Elizabeth had done it, he had done it. And he was so excited, and he was so touched that this was his creation for his son. So there's that first connection from a father to a son before the baby ever arrived. And that's important.
That's very important. Well, I'm sorry that this hour is coming to a close, because it's been a very interesting presentation, and I know that our listeners have been able to learn quite a bit from you. And so let me end then, though, with a play on your final quote. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. How do others begin, Christy? What tips can you give them other than what you've already given them? And do you, or have you thought about doing training for others interested in starting a program like this?
You know, I haven't really even thought about training. But I have to say, the first thing you have to decide is that you want to do it. You need to gather some other people that believe just as thoroughly as you do that this is a necessity to your school district, your school. And then you need to work on relationships. Every person that comes into contact with a teen parent needs to understand the importance of their relationship with the teen parent and the correlation between teen parents, relationships, attendance, and academic success. You need to form a partner to provide a reliable child care center with transportation. And you need to make sure that the child care staff is on board with relationships, because one poor relationship, like one bad apple, will spoil the whole bunch. You don't want any poor relationships, because these students are already coming with a lot on their shoulders. Yeah. You need to look for district support as high up as you can, because you've got to have someone there that is with you and believes that what you're going to do is the most important thing you can do for our students. And you just really need to remember that it's about the kids and about their needs, and how do we help them be productive members of society and really have fun, because the teen parents and their children are a blast. They brighten our days around here. They make you smile. They bring you back to reality, and they make it all worthwhile.
Well, it's a tremendous program, and this has been a great hour of discussion despite our problems. You know, we also tout technology is one of the solutions to the dropout crisis, and I guess all I can say about that today is technology is a tool, and never let technology stand in the way. We made it through that, and problems are opportunities, and we appreciate so much Laura Kaufman's questions today and coming in and really talking about another whole aspect of this problem. I think that was good for us, and it was very informative for our listeners. This issue of teen parenting is a critically important one, and the program developed in Pasco really appears to be providing an effective solution, focusing not only on the teen mother but also fathers and also the children, and that's so important for ending the cycle of dropouts, Christy, which you talked about so well. We certainly hope that our listeners have found today's program and all the resources provided a good starting point, at least, for their own exploration into this kind of model.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation, Christy. I've enjoyed the stories, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that video, because then it's kind of like a site visit, and we'll all get to go to Pasco, Washington,
Yes.
and see the good work that's going on in your school. We're going to have to remind our listeners now that because this monthly webcast will be archived on the website, and so you can go back and listen again, and I do recommend that your friends and colleagues listen to it as well, and this is one way that we can promote this idea. It's great to go to the grassroots, to the field, and see where people are really making things happen. And so, Pasco, Washington, thank you for sharing that, and Christy, particularly to you.
Well, thank you for having me and listening to our story, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next month.
Christy, you've given us plenty of information and resources to get started, and it's now up to each of us to explore further what you've presented and begin to apply these solutions to our work in ending the dropout crisis.
You know, these webcasts are broadcast monthly, and I'll do the promotion for next month, the fourth Tuesday. Now, this is the week of Thanksgiving, and we are thankful that we have Dr. Terry Greer, who was formerly the superintendent in Guilford County Schools, and he will be talking about middle college high schools in Guilford County, where we've made a site visit, and we'll have that on the web for you to see soon. Terry is now superintendent in San Diego, and he will be joining us from either San Diego or East Coast, but Terry will find us, we will find him, and we will bring that program to you next month. This particular webcast, again, is on our website, www.dropoutprevention.org/webcast, and it should be ready within the next 2 hours. Did you know that you can download it to your iPod or your MP3 player? And my favorite thing, as you know, Sam, is that it's on iTunes. And so I subscribe to Solutions, and so can you, and you'll get every month that, and you can walk around the block and listen to these programs again and again and again.
Thanks to all of you for listening and participating. And remember, we know why students are dropping out of school, and with research-based solutions, we can assure that all our students graduate. Join us next month for more Solutions to the Dropout Crisis.